Alrighty, so we're at 11.7. We'll look at 11.7 and 11.8 in this one. We'll lump them together because they go with this idea of lists are mutable. So we can actually actively change their elements or their items using the indexing notation on the left hand side. So here we see that we have fruit, or these three items here: banana, apple, quince. But we can say, oh, fruit of 0 gets pear and fruit of 2 gets orange, and so we have, instead of banana we have pear, and instead of quince we have orange. Okay, so we can use that indexing on the left hand side to change a list. And again, remember that strings, so here's a string, it can act like a list in many ways, in that we can talk about, string at position 2, and suppose we want to change test to text. We can't do that. It doesn't work. Okay. However, if you had a list of characters like this, T, E, S, and T, and you said, oh, I would like to make index 2 here a T, sorry, an X, it'll do that just fine. Okay, so, but now, a little more importantly, if we use our indexing, so for instance here, we'll come over here, insert cell down here. Whoops, I don't know where I inserted it. I wanted it down here. There we go. And so notice, oh, that's indented. So notice here we have a list. It's the A list, yes. And we have a total of 6 elements, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the range. And then here we say, oh, well, update the B and C here, because that would be 1 and 2, and the index here means 1 and 2, or we'll change 1 and 2, 1 through 3. And it says, oh, just update that, change it to X and Y. Okay, so if we run that, sure enough, it changed the A, B, C to A, X, Y, and then left the D, E, F. So you see, we can change our list any number of ways. Let's see. Now here's a good question. With indexing, I don't remember. This wasn't in the indexing for lists, so may not be able to do this with. I was going to add a comma and do a little bit more at once, but or try, but I'm not sure Python can do that. What the heck? We'll try. 4 shift colon 5. Yeah, I don't see why that would work. Never mind. We won't try that. You feel free to try that at home, but I'm not seeing how that would really make sense to try to write that up on the right hand side here. Okay, so wrong place. Okay. And now we can also remove them simply by assigning an empty list like this. So that's an empty list. And so if we come back here and do that, So 1, 3, and we just make that an empty list. And run that. You see we knocked out the B and the C. Okay, so those are a couple ways to change the list. And actually we can, so we can add them by concatenation. In other words, we start with this list here. I'll change mine to start with that list, A, D, and F. Okay, so there's my A, D, and F. Come back here, and now what they say is, okay, at the 1 spot, put BC. And notice it's the two match up. So I didn't oh, I did too much there. Okay, so notice it's 1 and 1. Okay, they match, and so we go here to index 1 at D, and it would insert it this way. So you see the D and F are still there, but it went to that index 1 and put it there. Now, suppose you were thinking, well, actually I needed to do, I was trying to put something at index 1 and 2, and so typically we would write something like that. And let's see the difference. Notice what it did. You see it took the D and the F and it replaced that with the B and the C. So if you want to insert, those two indices need to be the same, 1 and 1. Okay, because we'd already seen before that the way we replaced was giving the actual indices over here. So if we wanted that to be in a different place, we just change the two indices, but they would need to match. So here they do that, and then they add it to the 4th spot, so they had to do it twice. But of course, when they added the BC, originally that E would have been in the 2nd spot, but they added the B and the C in there, inserted those, and so it changed that a bit. Okay, so that takes care of these the fact that they're mutable, and looks at a couple ways we can use the index on the left to help us change the list if we need to. Now there are a couple ways to delete things in a list. So we saw one right back here, right? We deleted 1 through 3, or well, actually 1 and 2 of the B and C just by assigning an empty list. So that's a deletion. But another way to go is we could just say del, use that keyword delete on there. A1 and the 2 is missing. Well, let's try that back here on ours. So we've got A, B, C, D, F. F isn't right, and in the sense that it's not a letter that follows, and so we could say delete a list, and that is index, in this case 4, and now if we run that to print it out, we got rid of the F by using that command. So you know, there are a number of ways to delete items, well, a couple of ways anyway, using the empty list or using this delete command. And again, they show here that you could, instead of a single index, you can do a whole sublist that you get rid of, and you're then left with the A and the F there. Okay, so that's more ways to manipulate a list, and we'll call that done for 7 and 8.